So, should you play Crysis in 2021? This is one of the games that I've talked pretty avidly about for years now. It was one of the games that I actually, when I first got a PC, was the very first game that I purchased, along with a game called Time Shift, and completely different games in every respect, but they character looks pretty similar, so I guess that's what piqued my interest. But when Crysis came out, it was kind of like a spectacle. It ran PCs into the ground because it was just so graphically demanding that PCs really couldn't hold up with the experience that the game was providing you. It was really introducing things that a lot of games to this day still don't do. Visually speaking, gameplay speaking, or just overall mechanic wise. I definitely think it's a game that people should look into to this day. It's, in my opinion, one of my top FPSs of all time. If I have to compare it to games like Titanfall, Titanfall 2, I'd say probably Crysis and Titanfall 2 would probably be in my top three, honestly. They are very similar when it comes to movements. Crysis is somewhat of a fast game. You could kind of tailor the playstyle to your liking. The benefit of that is the nanosuit, which is actually kind of the character, the armor that you're playing in. It lets you change up your movement speed. You can move faster, you can shoot faster, you can reload faster. You could all switch this on the fly. You could go into like an armor mode where you'll take more bullets so your health bar doesn't go down. So just in case you're in the middle of an action fight and you want to kind of just go from point A to point B without getting hurt, you can kind of rely on that. It has like a strength mode, so you could punch harder, you could throw things farther, and you also steady your aim, things like that. And then invisibility, so you can just pop in and out of fights. So it really does give you different ways to really change up your gameplay at a moment's notice. I think that's fun. It's not really something that I have personally seen very much of. So, if anything, if you guys have seen many games that kind of are very similar to that, let me know in the comments below, of course. But if you've played this game before on a 360, if you played on a PC back then, you've probably seen the gameplay at some time, or you've most likely have seen any gameplay of it in this past 12 to 13 years, if my math is kind of correct. But it's got a re-release in 2020. It got a remastered, and the benefit of the remaster is they changed up some of the assets in the game to make it look prettier, make it perform better. And just recently, it got a Series X update. So this is something I've been waiting for. I think the game is fantastic. I think it's beautiful, and of course, I think the remaster is something that I've wanted for a while now. But the Series X update gave it so we could actually play the game at 60 FPS. This is something that even on my computer, which I would really call above average, very strong to the point where I could play any game I want on that computer on high, or ultra at least. Cannot do that with Crysis One. It really beats down my my computer, man. It's crazy to me that I could play the game on high and maybe majority of the time hit 60 FPS, but when you get into most fights, it drops. I want to say significantly, but it drops. And I think that's just it's wild to me that even to this day, years later or over a decade later, this game is still as demanding as it is. Granted, it probably wasn't or isn't as optimized as many games are nowadays, so that comes with the territory, but it's still a fun experience. It's still a very different experience, in my opinion, for an FPS game, especially a single player FPS, because most games are all multiplayer nowadays. It has its own kind of a lore setting, so it has its own world building, I guess, where you have your main characters and things are going on that kind of unveil itself as, of course, you play the game. It's not really like the most groundbreaking story, but I definitely think it's fun. I think it's different. And of course, across the length of the campaign, I feel like you have a lot of player choice in how you want to play against your missions. So I could have a completely different experience in terms of the way that I decided to tackle my missions as I did others. Granted, if you crank up the difficulty to Delta, which is the max difficulty, you are probably gonna do just complete stealth and kind of like a run and gun gameplay. Because if they catch you, they shoot you once, you're dead. It's not gonna happen. You're not gonna get out of that fight. That's something that I originally did on the 360, which I did Delta difficulty. I just ran through the game as it is, and I thought it was fun. But definitely feel like play the game on hard, and you're gonna get an experience that you probably haven't gotten in a while. Cheap, $17.99. You get it on let's see, Series X or Xbox One. You can get it on your PS5 or PS4s, PCs, and even a Switch, which is hilarious to me. But you're not gonna get, of course, as fluid as an experience as I would recommend. So give it a shot. Look into it. If you have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you also have EA Play, so you have access to the 360 port and you have access to Crysis 2 and 3. So give Remastered a shot, or if you want, play the first one on the on backwards compatibility, see the just massive difference between the two because it's there, and then play Crysis 2 and 3. Give me your opinions on what you think of it, and if there's any other games you think that we should play in 2021. So until then, pass the joystick, y'all. Take care.